Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight we're going to be looking at They Might Be Giants. We're going to go deep into their catalog with Todd Evans and Bicyclelegs. That's right, we're going to look at their catalog, tracks, concerts, their basic career. So if you like They Might Be Giants, this is definitely an episode for you. Also on the channel is Kiss Bootlegs, where Marco and Brett and I go into the rabbit hole of the whole Kiss bootleg scene. If you like Kiss bootlegs, this is an episode for you. Also, Nick Esquire and I did a Cheapy Bin episode where we looked at all of our recent finds. So if you like Cheapy Bins or you like thrifting, this is a show for you. Next week, we're going to look at Kiss off the soundboard. We're going to have a panel discussion with Ryan Gavalier, John Clauser, and Brett Peters. We're going to dive into the soundboard recordings. So as of this moment, there have only been 3 releases. So we're going to look at those, and I bet you we might look at that Destroyer box set Paris show. I just have a feeling. Also on the Contrarians, Martin, Marco, and Todd and I went on a deep dive into the Doors. And all I can say is this is a Contrarians episode on steroids. Todd's Contrarian opinions are really something. So if you're into the Contrarians, please like, subscribe, hit the bell. Also on the Warehouse, we're going to be looking at April Wine, Animal Grace, and Walking Through Fire. The last 2 major label releases for April Wine. That should be wild. And I'll be interesting to see what the panel says about Walking Through Fire. Just saying. And also in August, the first episode of This Is Power Pop's going to air. We're going to be looking at the Raspberries. Should be great. What a great band to start off with. I mean, for crying out loud. Badfinger, the Raspberries, they pretty much started it all. Without any further ado, let's take a look at They Might Be Giants. And I want to welcome Bicyclelegs and Todd Evans. Welcome, boys, to the show. Everyone should know Bicyclelegs and Todd Evans. They've been on this show. They're on the Contrarians all the time. How is everybody doing tonight? I appreciate you coming on to talk some They Might Be Giants.
Yeah, doing great this morning.
All right.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Well, let's get started. We're just going to do a general discussion, talk about how you came in contact with the band, if you've seen them live, what records you like. We're just going to pretty much just have a general discussion. So Bicyclelegs, I'm just curious, but when was your first contact with this band?
Okay, I actually have quite a sort of story with this. There's a late night clip show in Australia called Rage, and it plays all night on the ABC, which is our national broadcaster. Mm-hmm. And when we were teenagers, my little sister used to tape the whole night on a VHS cassette, have it in super long mode or whatever. And she'd go through it and
LP mode.
She'd go through it and find anything that she might like. And one day she grabs me and says, "You've got to see this film clip. I think you're really going to like it." This would have been about 1988, something like that. And the film clip was for Don't Let's Start.
Oh, yes, I love that.
I got the T-shirt on.
Yeah. And it was love at first listen. It was just, I had to know more and more about this band. Not too long after, I think, I saw the clip for Anna Eng, and then I was just totally sold. Although it did take me until Flood to actually buy a CD, because I was still a teenager at the time. I was on pocket money. I had to be very, very, as Lincoln, I had to be very sort of scant with what I could buy. Mm-hmm. But Flood was my first album that I bought. And it was just love at first listen from the first time I saw the film clip for Don't Let's Start. It's just, I'll be forever grateful to my little sister Rachel for introducing me to the band. So actually, the first time I ever went to see them live, we'll talk about that later, but the first time I ever took to see them live, I had a free ticket and I took Rach with me because that was my way of saying thank you to her for introducing me to the band in the first place.
Todd, what is your original? When did you first hear about the band?
Okay, I first saw the video for Put Your Hand Inside the Puppet Head from this album right here. Before the album came out, in 1986, they played it on 120 Minutes, which was an alternative music show on MTV. And I went to Athens, and I was going to school there, but I went. It was the summertime, and I went to visit. And I went to one of the record stores in town, and they had this on vinyl, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe I was actually holding it in my hand because I didn't even know they had an album. So I bought it and was hooked ever since. I loved it so much. And the first time I saw them was that winter. So it was probably winter of '87. And they came to Athens and they played at the 40 Watt Club. No, actually, they played at the Uptown Lounge, which is just basically a big concrete room. And there was a snowstorm that day. And so we went to the Uptown Lounge to see if we could find them like loading in. And we did. And so it was John and John, and I was going to look this up before I came on. They had a third guy who ran the tapes. This is before they had a band, and I don't remember his name, but it was just those three guys moving their own gear. And we went up to him, and we went up to John Flansburgh, and we said, "Hey, are you guys going to play tonight?" And that's why wouldn't we? And he said, "Well, there's a school the university is closed because of the snow." And he looked around and he said, "We're from New Jersey. We're from New York. We don't, this is no problem. Of course we're going to play." And there were about 12 people at that show, and they played anyway. They did the complete show.
Holy crap!
And
12 people.
Yeah, it was definitely less than 15, and it was a weeknight, so wasn't terribly unusual to go see a band there, but nobody really knew who they were at that point. So yeah, that was the first time I saw him. I've seen him many times since. I saw it the second time, I think, was when Lincoln came out and they played the Student Center at UGA. And I saw him then. And I brought my girlfriend at the time, who was a graduate student in comparative literature, and she didn't know what to make of them. She was completely confounded. Liked them, but was like, I don't know what this is. But yeah, and I should say that my first wife, my ex-wife, Gail, she lived in Milwaukee before I met her, and she saw them in October 1992 at the show where the stage collapsed. It was at the Majeska Theater in Milwaukee, and John Flansburgh, just before the famous polka, said, "We'd like you guys to help us out, so just ignore all the safety protocols and just come up here." And he meant, like go out in the aisles and come up to the front. But people jumped onto the stage, and it was kind of a makeshift stage because they brought the band a little bit closer. So it was like over the pit, and the stage collapsed, and 17 people were injured. But they only stopped for a little while. They stopped in the middle of the song to make sure everything was okay, and that everyone was okay, and that everybody got picked up, and then they continued the show. But I was not there for that. But my ex-wife was there, and so I've seen them many times since then. I saw them once when they did a kids show, and they did it at a place in Chicago called the New School. And this was in 2002, and you weren't supposed to go unless you had kids. You were supposed to it was supposed to be only accompanying children. And we went anyway and just attempted to blend in. It was when they did that tour. During that time that they did that tour, that was when they had a book out, and it was called Bed, Bed, Bed. And it was a kid's book.
Yep.
And
we've got that.
Yeah, I got it signed, and when we met them, we were afraid they were going to be mad at us, and we told them, we came and we don't have kids, and they said, "You came to the show and you don't have kids? That's so cool." And I was like, "Yeah, I think it's against the rules. It says right on the ticket."
Oh, it did.
And he was like, "Oh, I didn't know that. That's fine. That's fine that you're here."
Great. I think probably the first time I heard him was it. I'm pretty sure it was on this record. And similar to you, Todd, I think it was probably, God, you're making me really think back. It had to be, I don't know if it was MTV or like Friday Night Videos or Night Flight. It was Night Flight. It all comes back to Night Flight for me. Because where I grew up, we really didn't have MTV until much later. I used to have to go like out of town to my cousin's house to ever see any MTV. But Night Flight would play all this stuff. And Night Flight would play this. Now, the video that I believe that I had saw was off of this record. What was the one where they were on the, gosh, I feel bad that I can't remember. The one with the globe that they were on the World's Fair site.
It's Don't Let's Start.
Mm-hmm.
Don't Let's Start. So I was right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it was off this record. Okay, so I even beat myself. But it was off this record, and I remember that video being so captivating, and the music just brought me in, because, I mean, it was right up my alley. I mean...
Yeah, and Don't Let's Start was after, it was made late, so it was between the Might Giants and Lincoln, and that's why it came out on that 12-inch. Because it was.
So you're saying that the video was recorded? See, I didn't even know this. I'm learning something right now. You're saying that the video was recorded between Lincoln.
Well, it was probably It was recorded later than it was shot later than Put Your Hand Inside the Puppet Head, but it was probably still before Lincoln.
Yes,
it was after Puppet Head.
Yeah, I think. Well, the first album came out in 1986. I think Don't Let's Start, the single, and the film clip came out in 87.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is 88.
Yes.
Right.
But and Don't Let's Start was more popular than Puppet Head.
Yes.
Puppet Head was just first.
Definitely. I would say that to be true. But I do remember, because I bought both of these records when I saw that video. This was before Lincoln came out. And I distinctly remember Lincoln coming out in 1990 and trying to turn that CD onto other people.
Lincoln blew my mind when I heard it.
Yeah, but that's still not my favorite record, though.
No, mine neither.
But I mean, that was their first commercial success. And I remember working downtown with a friend of mine, and I said, "You've got to come to my car. I'm going to pop something in. You've got to hear it." I distinctly remember it to this day. I said, "You've got to listen to this band. It's just like." I mean, it's not like they were doing something that was revolutionary, but the songwriting, the production, I mean, really, I was really taken by the songwriting most of all, because I think it was smart, really well done. And, you know, like I said, it's kind of like a cross between like The Residents and, what could I compare it to? Help me, boys. Help me.
It's hard. All I know is that when I heard that part
Frank Zappa, The Residents, and I don't know, ABBA. I'm going to say ABBA on this.
I was going to say it's those sorts of things, but put through a very pure pop sensibility. You know,
I remember
absolutely.
One time,
throw some Captain Beefheart on there just for a little extra.
Yeah, but just sort of, you know, just absolutely filled with hooks. Their songs are, you know.
I remember one time hearing Flansburgh in a very early, no, it was Linnell, in a very early interview saying, "Melody is our secret weapon."
Yes.
And I always loved that.
And it is.
Well, it is. I think one of the things that makes this band so captivating is the fact that they write these songs that are simultaneously very interesting and incredibly catchy musically, but then lyrically they can be very, very dark, you know, and that juxtaposition, I think, makes them, if not unique, it makes them very, very different from most other bands.
Well, I don't think the song Twisting's dark at all.
I have one that I actually want to read the lyrics to later that is dark and hilarious at the same time.
But I do like this record.
Yeah.
Gosh, I bought this for $3 once. I had this when it came out, and then for some reason I sold it Then I
Yeah.
bought it back. But $3, Todd, it could be on the Cheapy Bin episode.
Nice. No, I mean, you just even look at the very first song I ever heard of theirs, which was Don't Let's Start.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such an up-tempo, catchy song.
Yeah.
And then it has lyrics like, no one in the world ever gets what they want, and that is beautiful. Everybody dies frustrated and sad, and that is beautiful. I mean, just...
I don't know if it's beautiful, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's certainly true.
Right.
So...
Yay.
Yay. Thanks for being a realist.
But that's what I mean about the juxtaposition between these insanely catchy songs and these dark, dark lyrics.
Yeah. That's
As
the
long
beautiful
as
thing.
As long as we're talking about dark lyrics. Go ahead and finish.
No, but I'm just saying it's one of those situations where everything sounds all pleasant, but then the lyrical content takes that, I don't want to say negative, but that dark.
So there's a song,
Essence.
if you'll indulge me, called
Go ahead, Todd.
Hopeless Bleak Despair.
Oh, I love that song.
It's on Mink Car, and it says, hopeless bleak despair, it was always there, and then one day it disappeared in a puff of smoke. In an unceremonious way, it disappeared. And then it moves on, and it says, for years and years I wandered the earth, sick of my life, looking forward to death, and then one day I looked around and I found it had disappeared. For years and years and years I wandered the earth until I died and went to hell, but my despair ascended to heaven, and that's how I finally got rid of it.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
They just released Mink Car on vinyl, and it was
I know.
that was like I had to have that.
Yeah,
Absolutely
I have to order
had
that.
have
Thank you for the reminder. But I mean, to think that you would go to hell and that would be relief because your despair didn't follow you there.
Did they just put out Mink Car on vinyl just recently?
Yes,
okay.
They did. Yeah. Is it out yet, or is it just a pre-order?
Yes,
thing?
I have it.
Oh, good. Okay.
I should have pulled it, but
I'm gonna miss out. I better hurry.
I've got Flood on vinyl. I got the first 3 on vinyl.
I've got 3 copies of Flood on vinyl. I've got an original pressing. I've got a recent repress, which I think is on either yellow or green vinyl.
I've got a green one.
And I've got a picture disc.
Have you seen them live?
Yeah, I didn't get to see them live for quite a while because during the 90s, I really wasn't going to concerts. And they didn't really start touring here till the early 90s. So I didn't. First time I saw them, I think, was on the Nanobots tour, and it was at a little venue called the Zoo in Fortitude Valley in Brisbane.
Wow.
Probably holds about 250 people, and it was packed. And as I said earlier, the very first one, I actually had 2 free tickets because I was part of the Instant Fan Club, and you got two free tickets as part of that. This is my cat, by the way. This is Grace.
Sorry, Grace can come on.
I got 2 free tickets, so I took my sister Rach with me because it was an 18 over show. I couldn't take my son because he was only, he would have been about 12 at the time, I think. So yeah, that was my first show. I saw them twice on that tour because they played 2 shows here. And then I saw them on the next tour. They played a much bigger venue, and they just played the 1 show. That would have been on the Gleam tour, I think. And then most recently, I saw them twice in 2019. And the second one I got to take my son to because they had an underage section because he was still, I think he was 17. So I actually got to take him to that show, and that was wonderful because my son has been a They Might Be Giants fan since he was a baby. I used to get this CD right here. No.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to put it into the CD drive of my computer. and it has like 13 of the 17 songs have animated video, like interactive animated videos. And I used to sit him in my lap, much like little Grace is in my lap right now. I used to sit my son in my lap and put the disc in the computer, and we'd watch the videos and click on them and all that sort of thing. And he's been a fan ever since, and he still loves them to this day. So that's a wonderful thing. When he was in primary school, he took the DVD of Here Come the ABCs to his class, to his like grade 1 class, and got the teacher to show it to the class. And the kids didn't think much of it, and he thought, "Oh, what are you missing out on? This is great." You know. But yeah, they're wonderful in concert. One of the great things is when they play more than one show in your city, you can go and see both shows, and you get 2 completely different shows. They don't play the same set list every night. You know, there'll be 3 or 4 songs that they have to play at every show, you know, like Don't Let's Start and Birdhouse and Dr. Worm. But other than that, there'll be completely different shows. Like for 2019 tour, one of the shows was 80s versus 2010s. So they played almost exclusively songs from those 2 decades. And then the second show was 90s versus noughts. So they played, you know, songs from those eras, and it was really wonderful. I love that. When I first saw them on the Nanobots tour, one of the shows was a Flood show where they play Flood in its entirety in reverse order.
And backwards, yeah.
In fact, they actually recorded one of those shows here in Australia and released it.
Yeah, I have that.
I think it's the Australian CD release of Gleam. They actually released that as a bonus disc for that.
All right, I got to take a note. It's on. Really? So the Australian version is a 2 CD set.
Yes, and it has a bonus disc, which is the Flood Live in Australia show.
Now that's also available from them as a download. So,
yes,
and I think it probably is.
It's
still
a free
available.
download. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
it's free. Okay.
There's still there's a first album live as well, which is from roughly the same era where they played the first album. But I don't think it's backwards. I think it's forwards.
Yeah, that one's from various different shows, I believe, the first album, whereas the Flood Live in Australia, I think, is just one show.
Wow.
Oh, getting a bit croaky there.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, I've only seen them I feel like such a novice compared to you guys now. I only saw them on the John Henry tour when they had the full band.
Yeah, but if you're going to pick one, that's a good one.
Well, it was still early.
Oh,
the
yeah.
band was top notch. I think Graham Maybury was the bass player that plays with Joe Jackson.
Oh, Graham Maybe. Yeah. Great
Graham
guy.
Maybe. I think he was playing bass on it.
Yeah, he probably was. He was playing with them around that time.
Yeah.
Like for a couple years or a
bass
year.
player.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was him because I went, holy crap, that's him. And then,
I'm pretty sure he plays on this album too. I'm not totally sure, but I think he does.
At least some of it he does, yeah.
Yeah. And then a while after that, for a while they had a band and everybody in it was named Dan, and they called it the band John and the Band of Dans. And so it was John, Dan, and Dan. And I think 2 of the guys that are in the band now are still named Dan.
Yes.
The Dans are still there.
2 of the 3
Daniel
Dans.
Miller and Danny Weinkopf is still part of the band.
But the thing that I really remember about that show is that, of course, they were playing most of that stuff from the first 4 albums or so, but people were actually jumping on stage and diving off the stage into the crowd.
Yeah.
You know? Everybody was like slam dancing up front at They Might Be Giants. It's just like, I cannot not forget it. I'm going, really? Don't, let's start, and you're slam dancing, but whatever.
Oh, funny story.
I wasn't getting in that crowd, I'll tell you that, but people were jumping on stage, jumping in the crowd, just like one after another. It was crazy.
Funny story. When I saw them in 2019, Flansburgh said from the stage at one point, he's like, "Wow, you Australians don't use your phones very much during the concert. We're a bit worried we're not going down with you. We're not going over." Because not enough people were using their phones while the concert was on.
Right.
It's like most bands get really pissed off when everybody's on their phones, but Flansburgh was like, "Oh, there's not enough of you doing it. We're not going over."
Oh my God, that's funny. But Todd, you were saying though before you've seen him. Oh well.
I've lost track. I probably
listen here, folks.
probably
Todd's
10,
seen him so many he's lost
10,
track.
11, or 12 times. But I mean, they came to Atlanta a lot. I saw them in Athens twice, and then in Atlanta probably about 8 or 9 times. I was at the show that they have a CD called Venue Songs, where they sang a different song about a different American city, and in each city they sang the song and they recorded it and then put it on a CD. I was at the Atlanta show where they recorded Atlanta, and it's about traffic.
Yeah, that's appropriate.
Which is very appropriate, yeah.
But man, when was the last time you saw him though?
Gosh, it's been way too long. I don't think I've seen them since, I think it was when I got this. So I think it was Nanobots. I didn't have them sign this. I bought this signed at the show. But so that would have been 2013, maybe 2014.
I've got
I think that was the last time. Yeah, I think that was the last time. So it's been way too long. I'm going to go when they reschedule these shows that are coming up. Probably next year or the year after, whenever they reschedule them.
I mean, is there a certain era of this band that you particularly are fond of, or are there certain records that are just...
I love all the different eras that they've gone through, but my absolute favorite They Might Be Giants album might come as a surprise because it's a recent one.
All right.
And that's Gleam.
I like Gleam.
I don't think I've got that. I don't have that one.
I think this is a fabulous record. I've been part of all but one of the Instant fan clubs, and never at the super president level. I can't afford that, but just the regular level. And for this one, they would release one of the songs every week before the album came out, and I got to know these songs and fall in love with them, sort of week by week. And I just think this is a fabulous record. It starts off with Erase, which is like a wonderful, fairly typical Linnell opening song for an album, but I think it's one of his best ones. Then you have Good to Be Alive, which I'm sure Flansburgh has been singing to himself recently after his dreadful car accident. Underwater Woman is a wonderful song. Music Jail Parts 1 and 2. I'm a big sucker for the Flansburgh songs. I know a lot of people are, all in for the Linnell songs, and I love John Linnell's stuff. But I'm a Flansy fan. I'm
the opposite. Love them both, but I lean towards Linnell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like Todd.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm the odd one out. It's not unusual. Although my favorite song on this album is definitely a Linnell song, and it is Unpronounceable. I think that song is incredible.
Yeah. Me too.
But there's so many good songs. I mean, Hate the Villanelle is a great song. And that's one of the, the credits for They Might Be Giant songs are always credited to both Johns. But they're usually written by one or the other, much like sort of Lennon-McCartney kind of thing. But Hate the Villanelle was a genuine collaboration. What happened was that Flansburgh wrote the lyrics for that song, and he wrote them in the poetic form of a villanelle, which is a very distinct poetic style. And the song is about a villanelle, which is, kind of meta. It's a song about itself. And then he handed the lyrics to Linnell and said, I wrote this. If you want to make a song out of it, go for it. and Linnell set it to music. So I always like that story. That one's a genuine collab. Is a great song.
That's my favorite.
Let me tell you about my operation. And then Gleam, the closing track, where they actually use a bit of Mellotron on that, which is not the other song of theirs that they use Mellotron on, which has always been an absolute favorite of mine, is on John Henry, and that's The End of the Tour. Oh, I adore that song. But I have eras. I love the early stuff because that's what first got me into the band.
Mm-hmm.
The sort of mid to late 90s stuff I had to go back and discover because I'd kind of lost touch with the band for a little while. John Henry is a fan favorite. I like that album, but I think it's there's 20 songs on it. And I think maybe if they'd made it a 15-song album, it would have been better. John Henry has one of the very few They Might Be Giants songs I actually actively dislike.
Oh boy.
And that is I'll think of the name of the song in a minute.
I have a guess, but I'm not going to spoil it for you.
No, I'm lost. Unrelated Thing. That's it.
Oh.
I was going to say
Stomp Box.
No, Stomp Box is great. I love that. That's
I
fun.
love Unrelated Thing.
No, I don't like the slow country sort of thing. It just doesn't grab me. And I think their recent stuff has been really. Although their last album, Book, was a little bit of a disappointment for me.
I'm having trouble with it. I'm having trouble learning it. Nothing's standing out. It's kind of sweet and pretty, but it doesn't. Nothing's jumping out at me, which is unusual. So I need to sit down and study it because I have the vinyl,
I need to
and the vinyl has the songs not in a listed as a list, and so it's really hard to figure out which one is which, and that's not helping.
You should get the deluxe book edition. It's even worse.
Oh yeah, I'll bet.
But the previous two albums, Gleam and I Like Fun, I think are two of the very best things they ever did.
And then there's Phone Power too.
Oh yeah, I kind of think of Phone Power and My Murdered Remains as being almost not real studio albums, more sort of offcuts and B-sides kind of thing.
Phone Power has what's the name of that song? Hang on. There's a song on Phone Power that I absolutely love. Shapeshifter.
Yes.
I love that song. But yeah, I agree. It has a lot of it.
Linnell's voice on Shapeshifter reminds me of Weird Al, and he would hate to hear me say that because I know they hate the Weird Al comparisons. But speaking of Weird Al, are you guys familiar with his They Might Be Giants pastiche? He did an original song in the style of They Might Be Giants, and it's called my brain's going to go blank again. I'm
trying to
Everything You Know Is Wrong.
Yeah.
It's called Everything You Know Is Wrong, and it is spot on. Absolutely
that's
spot
what
on.
Weird Al's good at.
It's as good a pastiche as his Dare to Be Stupid is of Devo. But so that's my favorite is Gleam. It's an album I've really grown to love, from the moment it came out.
So is there a record that you particularly don't?
My least favorite, and it's still an album I like, but my least favorite, again, is going to be probably a controversial choice for a lot of fans, and that is The Elves.
Oh, no.
And the reason I'm not a big fan of The Elves isn't because the songs aren't good. They are. The thing it's lacking for me is variety. And that is, with most They Might Be Giants albums, they cover the musical map so far. They go in so many different directions. For me, this album has a little bit of a sameness to it. And that's the only reason I'm not a big fan of it. I still like this album. It's still got some great songs on it.
Right.
I like Take Out the Trash is a great song.
Yeah.
I think this is a great Flansburgh album.
Take Out the Trash is one of my favorite Flansburgh songs.
Careful What You Pack is another song I really like.
I like the Shadow Government. Where's the
Shadow Government too? Yeah. Side 2 is better than side 1, I think. You got Beer the Bird of the Moth, which is great. Withered Hope is good fun.
Oh, yeah.
And the Mesopotamians, obviously. But yeah, there's just a little bit of a sameness to this album. And that's the reason I probably rank it lower than I would some of the other albums. It's lacking the sort of all over the map kind of thing that you generally get with a They Might Be Giants album.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, that's fair enough. I'm just curious, but out of all the children's, have you all heard the children's albums?
Yes, love them all. Played them all to my son when he was little.
I've only got No and the ABCs.
Okay. You need Here Comes Science. That one's brilliant.
I don't think I've got that.
You know what? I don't have that one either. So we both need it.
Yeah, no, Here Comes Science is possibly the best of the kids' albums.
Like I said, I've got holes in my catalog. Like Todd said, there are holes.
But I love the fact with their kids' albums that, I mean, lyrically, obviously, they're, very G-rated lyrics and that sort of thing.
Well,
they're not going into those sort of dark. But musically, they don't talk down to the kids. It's not dinky music that drives you mad.
It's not like Romper Room type of stuff.
Exactly. It still sounds like They Might Be Giants.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at Here Come the ABCs. Take a song like Pictures of Pandas Painting. And lyrically, obviously, it's, very much for the kids. There's a lot of alliteration in that song and all that sort of thing. Musically, it's kind of psychedelia. It's great. It's a wonderful song. I love that musically, they don't dumb it down for the kids.
Right.
They still make the music, interesting. It's going to introduce the kids to the sort of music they're not hearing listening to the Wiggles, and it has the bonus effect of that as an adult, if you're playing these CDs over and over for your kids, it's not going to drive you mad.
Yeah, as an adult, there's enough there that keeps your interest and you're not going.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I think all this, what I've heard, I think we used to have Here Comes Science or the 1, 2, 3. I don't know. I couldn't find it. I know I just bought Here Come the ABCs for $1 last week.
No, definitely.
But I know we had it before, but God knows where it is.
Definitely pick up Here Comes Science if you have a chance, because I think that's definitely the best of the kids' albums.
That because my kids would play that all the time. I don't know. I couldn't find it, but I've got everything organized, and I'll be damned it's not there.
But also, their most recent kids' album, Why, is really good too. And you're talking about their musical influences earlier. Mm-hmm. There's a song on that album called Definition of Good. And Linnell sings various things that are his definition of good. And one of the things that he lists as his definition of good is enjoying the works of Captain Beefheart.
See? It all comes back to Captain Beefheart. Well, those guys were into Captain Beefheart. Come on.
Mm.
But yeah, all the songs on that record too, they're all the longest song on there is like 2 minutes and 36 seconds. They're all about 1 minute something or 2 minutes.
Mm.
Yeah, both Dannies are playing on it. Yeah, I need to pick this up. There are so many holes that I have. So I'm just curious, but Todd, what's your favorite record and what's your least favorite?
Okay. Well, one of my my favorite is one that's a lot of people's favorites, and then there's a later record that's very, very close behind it. But my favorite is John Henry. I think that John Henry, the way the horns are arranged, is completely unique. I've never heard a horn sound like this album, and the album that I like very almost as much is Nanobots, because it has a lot of the same elements in the horn and arrangements, and so I think the songs in this are great. And I remember the funniest thing, and I can't remember exactly the circumstances because it's pre-Facebook and
Right.
pre MySpace, but I remember either listening to or reading an interview with John Flansburgh where it was Apollo 18 was out, which, by the way, I love. Fingertips.
Fabulous album.
But this was out, and John Henry was about to come out like in maybe 3 or 4 months. And Flansburgh said about John Henry, "It's the album that's going to make you uncomfortable that you know me." And I think what he meant by that was that I think that they and the record company also thought that this was really going to be the big one. And it turns out that Flood is really probably still the big one.
No, that's the one that went.
absolutely.
That's the album that went platinum.
That's right.
Flood?
Flood's
Yes.
platinum.
Yeah. But I thought that this was fantastic, and it's got my favorite song on it. My favorite song is A Self Called Nowhere.
Mm.
And there's this really cool thing that happens. A Self Called Nowhere is just fantastic. But there's this really cool thing that happens at the end. They use a flanger effect. A flanger is a sonic effect that you would know, Grant, being a guitarist, right?
I know what that is.
And so at the end of it, it's an effect that kind of makes things sound like they're going like kind of like cycling through this weird circular
and
sound.
Andy Summers guitar sound.
Yeah,
That's a flanger.
But in the song The Self Called Nowhere ends with 2 unison hits by the band, and it goes dun dun, and in between those the flanger is going, and it's silence, but you can hear
the noise
like in the background. And I was like, oh, when I first heard that, I was like, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard.
You can hear the sweep.
That's you can hear the sweep. But I love that. I love Snail Shell. I think Snail Shell is absolutely amazing. I like I Should Be Allowed to Think. It.
Yes.
I like the song about Alice Cooper. Is that Why Must I Be Sad?
Yes.
Yeah. Where he just
no more Mr.
He
Nice
just names
Guy.
all the
I
Alice
love
Cooper
the
albums.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love this album. But I also really like Nanobots. I really like You're on Fire. I think Black Ops is a really good Flansburgh song. I like the title track, but the one that I really like on this album is The Darlings of Lumberland, and that's another one of those really sophisticated horn arrangements kinds of songs. But there are some albums that I like Mink Carr a lot. I feel like Mink Carr is kind of a return to form. I like The Spine a lot. I kind of agree with Bicyclelegs about the Elks. I feel like, but the reason I think you may disagree with, the reason is I think 13 songs is too short for a They Might Be Giants album. I think it should be somewhere between 14 and 20.
Yeah.
But I feel like a really strange. I got there's kind of a strange phenomenon about their music, and I might be the only one that feels this way. But I feel like around the time of when they weren't signed, when they lost their Elektra deal, actually kind of starting with Factory Showroom and going through that period, that I was starting to like the Linnell songs more and the Flansburgh songs less, until we get to Mink Carr and Yeah. And that's the moment that I think the Flansburgh songs start stepping it up a notch.
Well,
and then after that, I feel like they're even.
You do realize Yeah is a cover.
Yeah, I do. But I think of it as a Flansburgh song because he sings it. And so, but I kind of think of that as a turning point.
I was always happy when they covered that song, because the original Georgie Fame version was a big favorite of my little sister and me when we were kids. We used to see that on Rage.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't
They used
familiar
to show
with that song.
the clip for it, and well, it's a very except for the sort of raunchy guitar in it, it's a very faithful cover version. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And
Another
they don't
thing,
stray too far from it.
yeah. Another thing that I want to mention, if in case I don't get a chance, on this album, there's a song called "When Will You Die," where it is sung in the regular pitch, like normal pitch, but the band is sped up.
Yeah,
so not
band's
just
at double speed.
Yeah, not just in, like you can do digitally where it sounds right, it's just faster. Everything is, the pitch and everything is sped up. So it sounds like the chipmunks sing. That's what the band sounds like, but then they're singing it in real time. That's brilliant. I don't know how hard it is to do that, but I just think it's brilliant. I know it's just a trick. But
what they do is they put the tape on double speed, and if you double the speed of the tape, what it will do, it will raise the pitch of the instruments by exactly an octave.
Okay.
So that's how they can still do it. And
so it's actually in the same key, the original recording.
That's right, just an octave. They recorded an octave lower at half speed and then sped the tape back up to normal.
I'd love to hear the original slower speed, just for curiosity's sake. My least favorite, I think one of my least favorite. Well, I have to say that my least favorite is Long Tall Weekend, which was the download only album that they released on eMusic as kind of a. Go ahead.
I actually have a physical copy of that.
Do you?
Yes.
I never got around to doing that. I made my own back in the day, but I don't have it anymore.
Yeah, no, they did hand some out as like promotional things, and I managed to get one for a decent price on eBay years and years ago.
Okay.
So,
all right. But I also am not crazy about Factory Showroom. I think it's too short, and I think coming after John Henry, I just don't think it's as good as John Henry. 4 or 5 really good songs on it, though. It's really hard to pick one that I don't like. It's really hard. I also like Gleam very much. And I also like Join Us. And I already mentioned Nanobots. And I like Fun is very good. Book, I'm going to reserve judgment on because I feel like I've got some kind of a block with it that I want to fix before I come right out and say that, where it stands with me. But I like Fun right away.
Yeah, no, it's a really good album. And the title track is one of the weirdest things they ever did.
Yes, it is. And it also has Last Wave, which along with Hopeless Bleak Despair is one of their saddest, darkest songs.
Yes.
So
what's the lyric? We die alone, we die afraid, we live in terror, we're naked and alone, and the grave is the loneliest place.
Again, full transparency.
Dying is lonely, but death is even worse. Basically, it's what he's saying. Why am I laughing at that? I don't know.
I don't know. It's so dark, but that's the way you are, Todd. You laugh at it.
Laugh in the face of absurdity.
Right.
Well, it's just interesting because you guys have mentioned things. Though I have to admit there are holes in my collection, but my favorite record is this.
Oh, it's a great album.
That's way up there.
Apollo 18.
Yeah, that's way up there.
That'd probably be second or third for me.
Okay. I think this is absolutely brilliant. I know when it came out, it kind of got, though I'm looking at the reviews now, it seems like maybe it's thought of much higher than when it came out. Because I remember when this came out, it had very mixed reviews.
The single flopped, and I think that surprised everyone because there was no Birdhouse in Your Soul on it. Well, I mean, they tried.
Yeah, but Palindrome
they tried a couple of them, but they didn't catch on with radio.
Well,
I just think it's a brilliant record.
I don't know what it was like in America, but here, the first track they really tried to push off that album was the guitar.
Yeah, I think that's the same.
And that's probably the weakest. for me the
Yeah.
weakest track on the
That's the
album.
weakest track on the record. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And they tried this. They tried. I think the Statue Got Me High was first, and I think
Yeah.
in the States.
Yeah,
and I
but
think
that's
that
a
was,
great song.
I think that's the one that they thought was going to be another Birdhouse in Your Soul, and I was surprised that it wasn't. And then they tried the guitar after that.
Narrow Your Eyes. Oh, My Evil
I've always
Twin.
liked Dinner Bell.
She's Actual Size. I think the
Yes.
songs on this record are just absolutely wonderful. And the snippets, I love all those snippets.
Oh yeah,
They're
I
so
love
much
the
fun.
fact that they can play the whole of Fingertips in concert live. That to me is just brilliant.
Yeah, I think on the John Henry tour, I think they did that. God, I'm truly thinking back, though. I've seen them do it, though. Must have
Yeah.
been then.
Did you guys ever call Dial a Song?
No.
Because
No,
we used to do that in the very beginning
I would have gotten
because that
big
was all
trouble
you could,
because
that's all you could get.
yeah,
It would have
I would have
cost
gotten big trouble because it would
Bicyclelegs.
have been international rates and
Well, they used to say when they advertised it, they used to say free when you call from work.
But I do want to add, though, I know Flood was like platinum selling, and this was really their big break. It's not my favorite record, but boy, there are some great songs on here.
aren't they
Particle
just?
Man, Twisting.
Your racist friend.
Yes.
I think Minimum Wage is amazing.
Mm.
It's only like a minute long or 40 seconds long or something like that, but it's so weird.
But wasn't Istanbul, not Constantinople, like a single? Correct
Yes.
me if I was wrong.
I think it was. Yeah.
And it was on the Tiny Toons Adventures.
Yeah.
Oh,
Along with Particle Man.
I'm such an
Yeah.
idiot, because here's the single right here.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to say, I used to have that. And it's got good B-sides, too, if I remember.
Yeah, James K. Polk. And
Yeah, the original version. of
yeah, in
both of
fact,
those.
in 2009, I got this for $1.
There's a single that goes along with John Henry that's called Back to Skull.
Yes.
And it's got a B-side on it that is essential. It's called Mrs. Train.
Oh yeah,
And
where
it's the one that starts
speeds
really
up.
slow and it gets faster and faster. Yeah,
Yes.
that's very good. And
But
the Sun is a massive incandescent gas. That single
Yes.
has their version of the Allman Brothers' Jessica.
Which is really
Which is
good.
Great.
On the Here Comes Science album,
Mhm.
they do the fast live version of the Why Does the Sun Shine?
Mhm.
And then after that, they wrote a new song called Why Does the Sun Really Shine? Because the old song was slightly inaccurate scientifically based on what we know now. So instead of being the sun is a massive incandescent gas, it became the sun is a miasma of incandescent plasma.
Just about the hardest I've ever laughed at a show was when they started playing Istanbul, not Constantinople. Every
Right.
time they played it, they would do this more and more, and they would get more and more exaggerated with it. But the part where he says people just liked it better that way, they would go
Yes.
P O like they would sing it so slow
Yes.
that every letter was separate. And it was hilarious.
Yeah, see, that's not. I can listen to that song, but for some reason, that's not one of my favorites.
Well, that's also a cover.
Yes.
I know. Well, yeah, but
I've got to say, when that album first came out, the song I really didn't like, and this people are probably going to throw Rotten Tomatoes at their screens for this, but the song I really didn't like was Particle Man.
Oh,
I thought it was just a bit too kiddie. I love it now, you know, that I've really sort of gotten more into the whole aesthetic of the band, as it were. But when it first came out, I just thought, this is a nursery rhyme.
There were
You know?
definitely songs that I liked better.
I
you know,
like
when I first
Particle
got it.
Man. But
But I do
this
like Particle
record,
Man.
though, this is almost right up there with Apollo 18.
Yeah.
I think this record is
Mr. Me
absolutely
is
perfect.
Oh my gosh, Mr. Me is so good.
They'll need a crane.
That
That's
is
my
such a
favorite track.
heartbreaking song. And apparently it was about one of their parents' divorces.
Oh, really? I did not
Yeah.
know that. But
Shoehorn with Teeth is great.
Yes.
Purple Toupee, Where Your Eyes Don't Go, Mr. Me. I love the whole thing. I love this
Yeah.
whole album. This is right up there with Apollo 18. It might even be higher. I don't know. This is just, I think it's just a perfect record.
They used to appear a lot on Conan O'Brien's show.
Yep.
And once they went on when I think No came out, and they did a medley of, it was just the two of them, and they did a medley of Robot Parade, and then they went into this sort of bridging piece that isn't on any album, and then they did Shoehorn with Teeth. And for Shoehorn with Teeth, they actually brought the glockenspiel out so that Flansburgh could hit that one note a couple of times. But the funny thing is, in one of the places, he hits the wrong note.
Oh.
And you pan over to Linnell, and he is like trying to stop himself from cracking up about the fact that Flansburgh's hit the wrong note on the glockenspiel.
My favorite Conan show was when it was before this came out, and they did "Man, It's So Loud in Here." So that was the first time I heard it. And that song, it reminds me of something else I wanted to mention. That's a song like Thermostat, in that it's about something so simple. It's just one simple idea.
Yeah.
It's loud in here. I can't hear you. Maybe when they turn the music down, I'll be able to tell you what I'm trying to say. It's basically the whole song. And Thermostat is, but in more words than that. And Thermostat is kind of the same way from Flood. It's like, is that from Flood? Yeah. It's no. What is Thermostat on? I can't remember now. Oh, it's on
John Henry.
It's on John Henry. It's basically, if you're cold, turn it up. If the heat bothers you, turn it down. But it's so desperate. It's so, if the heat bothers you, turn it down. And it's just the idea of something so simple becoming a song. Yeah.
But Man,
and
It's So Loud in Here.
Behind it.
Man, It's So Loud in Here is another example of the collaboration between the Johns, because what happened was that Linnell wrote that song, and he brought it in, and then apparently Flansburgh took it away and came up with that whole sort of arrangement, the really sort of techno arrangement for it, and brought it back in and said, "Hey, listen to this." There's actually a clip of that happening in the studio on the Gigantic documentary.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And like Flansburgh sort of like this, looking very proud of himself as the rest of them are listening to it and going, "Ooh."
It's so funny too, because not only is it like got that techno beat, but it's so exaggerated.
Yes,
it's like, and it's so loud it almost distorts, and it's just like such a over exaggerated version of that kind of style. It's perfect for the lyrics. But that's a very that Gigantic movie is a very good. That's a very good documentary. And it's very touching. A lot of it is about their friendship. And I found it to be very, very entertaining and very touching.
Well, Todd, was it you and I, when I showed you that DVD, I picked it up lately? Was it you that mentioned a copy that you have? Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I watched it. I thought it was great.
And as a side note, because of that documentary, I discovered Sarah Vowell and went and bought some of her books.
Yeah.
And they are really worth reading. They're fabulous.
Yeah, my wife and I did the same. Yeah.
Just throwing this up there. This is a promo copy of this.
Oh, very nice.
Oh, cool.
And I was just curious, since we're talking about albums, what is your thoughts on the They Got Lost compilation of rarities? You guys
I like that one.
Yes.
I like that one. Out of all of those, that might be my favorite.
It has one of my absolute favorite laugh out loud They Might Be Giants songs on it, which is Disappointing Show.
Yeah.
I always love that.
I like
one of those
testimonial too.
Yes.
Where it's like an advertisement for like a web services company, and it's like,
Hi, I'm John from They Might Be Giants. You might
might
know me
was
better as one of the guys from They Might Be Giants.
Yeah, but this is great. It's just funny how all these rarities just kind of, slip through the tracks, you know what I mean? Or they didn't make it on anything else.
And you can't go wrong with any of them.
You can't
because
go, they're great.
They're going to at least be funny.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's good. Anyway, there's a promo again. But man, it was just, it's funny though. Back in the day, you could pick up a lot of their stuff used, and now it's practically disappeared.
Well, because a lot of it's out of print now. Once stuff goes out of print, it instantly becomes more valuable.
Yeah, these two are getting difficult to find.
Yeah,
around where I live.
This is a single.
I used to have that. I don't have it anymore.
It's really good.
I mean, I've got some weirdness. Well, I have this. Do you have this?
I used to have that.
I don't think I've got that single, no.
Caddyshack.
Maybe I do.
I remember those songs.
Of course, I've got, well, you all probably have this. Miscellaneous Tea.
Oh, yes.
I don't anymore. I need another copy of that, and I don't think it's going to be easy to find.
Severe tire damage. No one's mentioned that.
Yeah.
I just held that up.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
But it's got Dr. Worm, which is another one of their greatest songs, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's got the whole Planet of the Apes saga at the end.
And car. Well, there's that. What else do I have? Well, I did show the single though before we saw that.
Yeah.
I forgot that I still had it. It's got Ant on it and Stormy Pinkness. James K. Polk, I love that. Do you guys have
what was on? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Do you have the solo record that it John Linnell did?
I do.
Well, John Linnell did his solo album, and then John Flansburgh had his side band called Monopuff.
See, I don't have that.
And they have
two albums, and they're really good. And also, I've got some. If you can excuse me for a second.
No, you're good. What was the John Linnell solo album called? It was like about the states.
Yeah, state songs.
And it's funny.
I don't have a physical copy of it anymore.
Well,
but I
saw it used, Todd, like, I don't know, 4 years ago. And I'm thinking, geez, but they wanted like $9.99 for it. And I'm going,
sorry about that.
That would be good price now.
Hello,
it's probably expensive.
CD of the Month Club that Flansburgh did.
I never got any of those.
I don't have any of those at all. I mean, Bicyclelegs says he's a big fan. He's proven it now.
Yeah. But there's one that Andy Partridge did for the Hello CD of the Month Club.
Oh, I'd like to have that.
Includes an early version of My Brown Guitar on it. What else?
I wish I had bought all those.
Here's another John Linnell one. It's like the State Songs EP.
Yeah.
This first one I showed you is the House of Mayors, and this is the one that was a misprint and accidentally called Hall of Mayors.
I like that.
Yeah. It's like all these bands that most people have never heard of. And then ones that, he's called on his friends, Frank Black.
Mm-hmm. So it's got it does have like the date, because what does that say? November of what?
Yeah, they released one every month originally, and then it was every 2 months. Hello, the Band was another John Flansburgh side project.
What's that say, 93?
Yeah.
Yeah, September 93. It went from 93 to 96, I think. I don't have them all, but I have a ton of them.
Yeah, I guess you do. It's impressive. But they're so prolific and they put out so much material, it's hard to,
Yeah, and when I was really surprised that they lost their Elektra deal. But if you know, and I don't know the details of this, but I have heard people talk about something happened at Elektra where Elektra signed a whole bunch of alternative acts around the time of, late 80s, like 87 through 90. And something happened at Elektra, and there was a shakeup, and all of their people got let go.
Well,
and that's when they dumped a whole bunch of artists. That's when they dumped 10,000 Maniacs and They Might Be Giants and others.
Yeah, didn't the person that signed them somehow disappear?
Yeah, they got let go from Elektra, and
yeah.
But 10,000 Maniacs, I could see that because by that time Natalie Merchant had.
Well, yeah, that's not really the best example because they were on the way down anyway. But
right.
But I can remember either Flansburgh or Linnell saying something in an interview about all of a sudden all the people that we knew at the label were gone.
Yes,
and we thought
that's what I understood. Well,
I watched something last night that was really funny. I had never seen it before. It was the electronic press kit for Flood, and you can watch it on YouTube. And it's very funny. They're just sitting in a restaurant, and one of the things they say John Linnell says most people's albums only have like 9 or 10 songs on it, and then Flansburgh says, and this makes us angry.
I've seen that.
And then Linnell says, our album has 20 songs.
Yes, our album has 19 songs, and that's why it's better.
Yeah. I probably had seen that years ago. I'd just forgotten about it, but it's very funny.
But to think about that whole Elektra contract, I don't think John Henry sold. I'm trying to find out.
Well, I think
John
that happened.
Henry it peaked at 61 on the Billboard 200, and
it should. I think that probably was part of what happened at Elektra. And this record was probably expensive. It was produced by Paul Fox, who had produced Oranges and Lemons for XTC, and he had produced Our Time in Eden for 10,000 Maniacs when they were big. And so when this album came out, I assumed it would be huge. And something went wrong. I think it was probably that label shakeup.
But even Factory Showroom.
Yeah, same thing.
If you look at the personnel lineup and all the musicians that played on it.
Yeah.
I don't know how much they'd give them to record things, but the reviews for Factory Showroom weren't all that hot. And I don't know where it even ranked in the Billboard charts. I don't see anything that says anything where it might not even have charted. So nothing against them, but I could see where Elektra would, if they're cleaning house, you know what I mean.
But I think it's my personal opinion that the fan base that They Might Be Giants has is probably the size that it should be. And I think it would be very difficult for a major label to get them into a different category, to move them up and keep them there, because their fan base is very loyal, and it's people that like a very specific kind of thing. And there's a lot of them. It's just not platinum a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's it. And I think, They Might Be Giants are a lot like Marillion, not musically, but in the sense that they've cultivated this very loyal, rabid fan base. And they're actually better off not having a major label deal, because they can go direct to their fans and they get to keep a lot more of the money from the sales of their albums and stuff than they would if they were with a major label.
Look at
it financially, it makes more sense for them to do it this way than be with a major label.
You look at a recent photo of a Marillion concert, and it looks like a massive band. It looks like it's like a Tool concert or a Pearl Jam concert or something like that. And it's because their marketing works. It's just the right amount of people, and everybody goes, everybody's interested, and it just works within its niche.
And both bands were very early adopters of staying in touch directly with the fans through the internet and that sort of thing. Long Tour Weekend was the first major album to be released as a download-only album. So,
and you had to get eMusic to do it, and we all did it. We were like, tell us what to do to get the album, and we all did it. So
it's not like YouTube where it just all automatically appears.
No. But we all automatically opted to buy it.
Right. I get it. Or Radiohead. It's kind of the similar thing, but they Might Be Giants probably beat Radiohead to the punch, I would imagine. They were probably the first.
Yeah, they were. They did it first.
They were doing that sort of thing before Radiohead were a thing, really.
Right.
And there are other albums that are in that post-Elektra 97 through 2000 era. There's one called Mitathon. There's one called Giants Jubilee. And they were all special, things where if you were a fan of the band, they'd tell you about them and you could download them. And I used to have both of those. I think I still do in download form. But
somewhere in your archives.
And then later on, there was Venue Songs. There are two that came. Something else came out along with Venue Songs. It was another live album, and I can't remember what it was called. But those were like a pair, and I remember buying those. That was in the early 2000s, I think.
All I know is I feel like a novice compared to you guys. You guys are making me feel inadequate.
Venue Songs is great because it's showing They Might Be Giants sort of doing style parodies the way Weird Al does, Like you take a song like Dallas, which is very much a Yes style of song, the trees. Or is it Vancouver, Richards on Richards? Very, very Cars style song, that one. I love those Venue Songs. I think it was great that it was incredible that, and it just shows their creativity that they could, on that particular tour, they just said, okay, we're going to write a song for every venue we play in. And just the creativity to be able to do that.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. It kind of goes back to Apollo 18 where they do all those snippets. And it's just amazing. The sequencing of the whole CD is just brilliant. And the way all those little snippets and bits of music just fit together.
And I remember them saying that the whole idea was that you're supposed to put the CD on shuffle.
Yes.
So the snippets can find their way in between. And that's one of the things that I like about Nanobots. If I can give Nanobots another plug, is that it doesn't have like 20 snippets, but it has 4 or 5 of them just kind of mixed in there.
Yeah, I'm going to have to bring Nanobots back out. But I've been playing CDs so much lately, though. I keep forgetting about my records.
The funny thing is the original Australian press of Apollo 18, you couldn't do that with fingertips because they indexed it as one track instead of indexing each segment individually. So
I'm going to check mine.
That's unfortunate.
I'm pretty sure, but I don't know how long this is in print though for. But I'm pretty sure it was all segmented.
I think the Elektra one, as far as the states are concerned, is the only one there ever was of that. I don't think they ever did anything else. I don't think they ever reissued it on CD or anything.
Not on CD. They have reissued it on vinyl. Yeah. They did press it originally on vinyl at the time, but only in Europe.
There's no way, listening to you gentlemen, I feel that there's no way I'm ever going to catch up. Here I thought...
You're most of the way there.
Yeah, I've got a good collection, but then I listen to you guys and I feel really like I should just slink away. I'll hide over here. You guys just carry on and I'll just talk to you later. But like I said, they're so prolific that...
Yes.
I mean... to have their entire catalog, you'd have to really be on it because they're always producing material, I don't know. like I said, a lot of this stuff I would just pick up when I found it used. But I never see anything used anymore. You used to see Apollo 18 and Flood all the time. Never anymore.
Yeah, they're getting a little more scarce.
Yeah. I guess people are just keeping them, or I don't know. But like you never see this. Like I just keep saying, you never see any of this stuff. So that just leads me to believe that I don't think any of this really sold very well at all.
Well, no, Mink Car was very unfortunate for them because it was actually released on the 11th of September 2001.
Yeah. And
that would be a problem.
Well, there's that part. I think it's in Gigantic. I originally was thinking that it was on YouTube, and I couldn't find it, but I think it's in the Gigantic film where I saw it, where they actually played a show at a record store on like after midnight, because that's when they released the album on September 11th, and they play New York City, and it's
in New York City in a record store. Yeah. And the thing is that because of the downturn in the economy after 9/11. Right. The record company that released that, I think it was Restless, went out of business. So that made the album really hard to get because they stopped pressing it because they were out of business.
It's the same scenario with Cheap Trick 97 when Red Ant they put out.
When Red Ant went under, exactly.
Which, this is going off on another tangent, but everything comes back to Cheap Trick. That 97 record is absolutely wonderful. But it came out, and the record company went out of business, and then
I remember being worried when it came out because I thought, oh, an independent, I hope they do an okay job on it. Because a band like that being on an independent always reminds me of Utopia being on Passport.
Network.
Who totally botched that. And Network too. Network went under.
Of course, Network was distributed by Elektra.
Yes.
I don't know how that could have...
Something happened with Network. Network got just dissolved. I don't know. I'm not sure how. Something to do with one of the executives did something.
But Utopia just had bad luck.
Yeah, just terrible luck. And so when that Cheap Trick album came out, I remember being, oh no. And then the label went under.
But think about this. How many labels did They Might Be Giants go through? They were on Restless originally.
Well, they were on Bar None originally.
Bar None, and then it was on Restless.
This was Restless Bar None, and Restless was a way for Bar None to get more distribution.
I need to look let me look at something.
Because Restless was a pretty successful independent.
Okay, now this is on Restless Bar None.
Okay, yeah, mine is too, but the original one of this, I think, is just Bar None. Because mine is later, because it says made in Canada down there. I don't have my original anymore.
What is your CD mastered by Nimbus? I'm just curious which one you've got.
Made in Canada by Americ Disc.
Oh.
So yours is different from mine.
Yeah, it's different. This is manufactured in USA, but the inserts are Canadian. Huh. What about where's Lincoln? So my copy, I can't use this as an example because my copy of Lincoln is a Columbia Record House pressing of it.
Oh, really? That's it. But that's interesting though.
Because look at the graphics; they're black.
Mine is also made in Canada by Americ Disc, but this is not my original copy. I went through an unfortunate CD purge in the early 2000s, and so a lot of my original CDs are gone, unfortunately.
Yeah, this is made in U.S. by a Digital Audio Corp. So Sony were pressing these. Mm-hmm. But, I bought this I got this in Seattle. Like,
this is going off on a tangent, but you want to know...
Well, we've already went on
No.
Now we're talking about pressings and everything.
No. I was going to say, you want to know a band that's been on a lot of different record labels? Sparks.
Oh, God, yes.
They have been on so many different record labels, it's not funny.
I've got a promo poster of Angst in my pants.
Cool.
Todd Rundgren, too, has been through a bunch.
Yeah.
Especially lately.
I mean, he was on Bearsville for ages, but...
Yeah.
Right. But I don't know. There's a lot of bands that have probably gone through that type of thing. of course, the whole music industry today is pretty much a mess.
Yes.
It's amazing They Might Be Giants is even putting anything out. I'm assuming all their, like the last album. I'm going to assume, I haven't seen it. Was that just released by them, or are they on a label now, or anything?
No, they have their own label as
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Idlewild.
called Idlewild. Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, I still have holes in my catalog. So, but anyway, I don't really have much more to. I think we've pretty much covered.
Yeah, I think we covered it.
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody's interested in this band, I think you may be able to get enough out of this to maybe go out and check them out, and hopefully you'll be able to pick some of their stuff up and enjoy it.
I mean, anything that you can find in a used CD store, I think is
I
gonna.
haven't
I don't
seen
think you can go wrong. I mean, if
Exactly.
you find something, just pick it up.
If you can find it. Probably depends upon what part of the country you're in. But here in central Ohio, it's dry. It's sad.
Do you do much CD looking at, what would you call them? Like charity shops? Or,
Yes. We call them thrift stores.
thrift
Yeah.
stores.
I
We
do-
call them op shops.
Yeah. Yeah. And what do they call them in the UK? Man, they've got a term.
Where's
that they use.
Davey at when we need him?
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time they just call them Goodwill, even if they're not actually a Goodwill store.
But here where I live, it's just, it's horrible. It's like Andy Williams. It's like that type, Barry Manilow.
Atlanta
It's-
has a really good chain called CD Warehouse, and
You always throw that out.
oh, that's right, I mentioned that before. It used to be a big chain. Now it's just a small chain. It's like 2 or 3 stores in Atlanta, but they have a lot because
Yeah, you're
everybody goes
lucky.
there because all the other stores are gone. So
You're lucky that it still exists because we had like 3 or 4 in Columbus, all gone. And I used to go there all the time.
the pandemic shut down a couple of them in Atlanta, but there are at least 2 left.
You're lucky. I mean, pretty much in Ohio, we've got like Used Kids and Half Price Books and Magnolia Thunder Pussy's still around, but I haven't been there in years. But there are some stores. Spoonful. I think Jamie Laszlo likes Spoonful.
Yeah,
But,
I've heard him talk about that.
I don't go there that much. I just get Half Price Books and Used Kids pretty much. But I hate to say it, but I do get quite a bit off Discogs anymore. Or eBay.
I buy a lot on eBay.
Mm.
I have a technique that I use where I look for something, then I do buy it now, lowest price first, and then I scroll down to the first one where I can actually see the actual CD, and that's the
And
one. I
then
buy.
that's the one you buy.
Because if you buy the ones that don't have a picture of the actual CD, that's where you get burned.
I'll tell you, when I know we're going off on a tangent, but this is how this channel goes. Back in the day when I used to do a lot of eBay, Todd, were you the one? It had to be you because I'm talking to you constantly. During the Bill Clinton administration is when eBay was in its golden age.
Oh yeah,
Once George Bush got into office, everything had changed. But when Clinton was in the office, and I'm not trying to say anything political, I just know the market totally changed. That's all
eBay
I'm
used to be
saying.
auction only. And when they figured out that they could get small businesses to put merch on there,
Yeah,
it
screwed it.
completely changed. Yeah.
Yeah, because back then I would do auctions. Because back then in the 90s, you could go through all these used CD stores. Because I would go to work, I'd go to all the haunts, and I would go through the bins. And I was so good at it. I knew if something was out of print and worth money, I got it.
Yeah.
But you had to know what to buy.
Yeah.
But the market has changed so much that those CDs that were once worth money aren't worth so much. And then there are probably other CDs now that are worth way more. Things fluctuate.
Yeah.
During the Bill Clinton administration, it's the only way I can keep track of it.
Well, that's when the
I
internet
was-
boom happened.
Right. I
Yeah.
was doing like $1,000 a week in used CDs. Because I
You
would
want-
buy them, I'd find them in the cheapie bin for $3 or $1, and I could turn them over and they might be 20, $25. But that's when it was just going crazy, you know?
Yeah.
I miss
want-
those days.
Do you want an ultimate origin story here?
Of course.
2002 was when I signed up for eBay, because being in Australia, we're all a little bit behind on this sort of thing. My son was a baby at the time, and I was signing up for eBay for the first time. The first thing I ever bought on eBay was a CD copy of Yes's album Talk.
Okay.
Anyway, when I was signing up for eBay, I had a username that I used to use on the internet a lot. I can't even remember what it was. And I went to sign up for eBay, and that username was taken. So I had to think of something else. And I raised my son for the first couple of years pretty much on my own, because his mother was very, very ill after he was born. And so I used to, do all the changing of the nappies and all that sort of thing. And when I used to change his nappies, I used to do this little thing with his legs. And I used to sing a song about him having bicycle legs.
Holy crap. The
And that's
origin
where the
story
name
is
came
here.
from. That's where the name came from, and it's been with me for the last 20 years.
Nice. See, Todd, this is why we do these shows, because
The more you
we
know.
learn, the more you know. That's a great story, though. But, so you said you signed up for eBay like
2002.
2002. I think I did it in 98.
I was 98 too.
Todd, we are like on a parallel thing
And
here.
another thing I used to do is I used to be on, do you remember email digests? Like there was one for Genesis that was called Paperlate, and there was one for IQ, and there was one. I was on the Genesis one, and it was basically you would email to this email address, and then somebody at the end of the day would gather them all into what they called a digest, and they would email it out to everyone. And I used to sell Genesis stuff on
Did
there.
you?
That was before eBay, yeah. Like 96, 97.
Wow. That's cool. You guys, we've probably talked, remember half.com?
Yeah.
I liked half.com.
It was great when it was actually half, and then it stopped being half.
Yeah,
they still
but
called it that.
you could buy all kinds of stuff there, and if you kept your eyes peeled, you could get good deals on there. And then eBay dissolved it. I don't know.
Well, all of those stores that were like that were good, Overstock used to actually be Overstock stuff, and then it just became a regular store. That happens to all the good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do miss
they
that.
have like a gimmick. They just get rid of it after a while.
But I do miss that era because
Me
it
too.
was a lot of fun, especially going out and going through the bins and selling stuff. God, I miss doing that. I mean, I still have a store on Discogs that I sell. I still do it, but it's not anywhere like it was back then. The early, the 2000s, the 90s. Of course, I don't know. Everything's switched to vinyl now, I guess. But vinyl, that's a little bit more of a tough sell for me because you have to really make sure that what you're selling via vinyl is, if it's used, the description better match.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause
You've
it
got to
can
be
come
really
back-
conservative with your grading, otherwise.
You've got to really be on it.
I only buy
I don't
on
bother
eBay.
with that.
I don't sell. I buy and sell CDs, but I only buy because I don't want to be bothered with the packaging.
Yeah, I haven't sold
Yeah.
anything for the last few records I sold were for my sister. She had some things like I sold for her an AC/DC TNT on the Albert's Blue Roo label.
Yeah, I've got that.
That got a couple of $100.
Oh, I
So-
bet. I bought it used for like $4.99. I mean, if you go to the stores, like Half Price Books, which they sell, they do books, they do CDs, they do albums, and they're all over the United States to some degree. But if you look, you can find a good deal.
They're
Yeah,
lazy.
but-
When they get a lot of inventory, they blaze through it. So you get bargains there because they're too lazy to
But
price everything individually.
But the other thing is with them is that you could have a record that's absolutely trashed and they'll charge like $9.99 for it.
Mm.
I mean, they don't really look at it. It's just a crapshoot. It's not what it used to be. I know. I know nothing stays the same. I get that, but man, for a while there, it was really fun going through the bins. It's always fun to go through the bins, but if you're looking to find stuff to resell, if you're, flippers, so to speak, it was great back then. I mean, it was great to supplement my income. I mean, some of this stuff I was always tempted whether I should keep it or not, but then I thought, I don't know. I don't know, kids. I really don't have anything else other to talk about. I think we've pretty much covered it. Hopefully, we've turned on some people to They Might Be Giants. Bicyclelegs, do you have anything to promote on your channel? What's coming up on your channel?
Well, my most recent video was I did a studio albums ranked where I picked my top 10 Frank Zappa and the Mothers albums.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun.
That was really hard to do because he's got so many albums. But that was good. My next video will be coming out this weekend, and I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite albums of all time, and it's going to be Chicago 5.
Oh, that's right up Todd's alley.
Yeah, a hit by Beret.
Yeah. So that's this week's upcoming show. So
Excellent.
just come and visit me at Bicyclelegs and come and have a look. I've got lots of videos there for you to have a look at.
And I will have the link to Bicyclelegs channel down below. So
Thank you.
Of course. It's how I roll. Todd, what's happening with you? Is there anything coming up?
Well,
I know that there are things coming up. So
there was something that we did last night on Ryan's Vinyl Destination, Ryan Gavalier's channel, where we part of the U2 series, where we talked about Achtung Baby and Europa, and that was fun.
Wow, Bicyclelegs, that was.
I got a little carried away.
No, Todd, I was talking a little bit to Ryan and Davey today. I don't know. Davey sent me a nice message and said, "Man, you were really on last night." See, I was on yesterday. Now I'm just crap. But he said you were all over. I said, "Well, I don't know. I just going with how I felt about it."
There's another thing that I want to talk about, but I'll let you do it, Grant, because
okay, I will. I'll probably hit that up front. But yeah, so there was a little bit of talking between us, and everybody thought that it was a really great episode. But Bicyclelegs, you need to check that out because Todd
definitely will. He
was very passionate, and I think everyone was very passionate on it. I'm surprised that these two records, I mean, I don't know how you view Achtung Baby and Zooropa in Australia, but Davey, who's in Scotland, I mean, he's very passionate about it. I mean, those records he basically phrased it that those records are very European.
Yes.
Compared to where they were doing like the Americana thing, like in Unforgettable Fire or Joshua Tree. I mean, it's a real departure. Yeah. And he was very passionate about how European it was. I'm just curious, but how were those records? Yeah. I know we're going off on a tangent, but since I've got you, how were those records viewed like in Australia?
Well, I kind of mentioned a little bit of this to Todd in a Facebook post, but I always really admired you two for doing Achtung Baby because it would have been so easy for them to do Son of the Joshua Tree and make, sell millions and millions more records. But instead they took this complete left turn with Achtung Baby. And I appreciated them for that, but I did not like that record.
God, I thought it was brilliant.
I love it now.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It took me 20 years to really get into Achtung Baby and Zooropa. I still don't like Pop. I think that's a rotten record, but
Well, we haven't gotten to Pop yet. We're looking at that next week.
But Achtung Baby and Zeropa are really interesting albums. They're probably not right up with my favorites, but they're albums that I've grown to appreciate over the last 10 years.
Well, because my U2 favorite record was War. I still love that record. Once they went to Unforgettable Fire, I listened to that and I went, oh, well, it's kind of like War, but it's not. I love the Steve Lillywhite production. You know, it's raw U2. I've said that before. I like that. And I kind of jumped ship after Unforgettable Fire. And I never really paid much attention to anything else after it. And until we were looking at Zooropa, this has been the first time I've ever even heard that record. And Todd's not a big fan of Zooropa. I'm not going to get him all. I'm not going to get him all worked up.
I have a very difficult relationship.
But I think it's brilliant, and so did Davey, and so did Ryan. But that's fine. That's what makes a good discussion. You know, I totally get that you don't get it. That's fine.
My favorite U2 record is actually a live album, and it's Under a Blood Red Sky.
Oh, I love that record. That is the only live U2 thing that you would ever need.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did they put anything else out live?
U2 Go Home, which came out in the early 2000s, is very good.
Yeah, but Under the Blood Red Sky, they're still young. They're still thirsty. You know, it's raw. Oh, I think it's great. Well, we had a show and we were talking about Rattle and Hum, and I just think that the live tracks on there are absolutely... Opening that album up with Helter Skelter, holy, come on. With that whole spiel, Charles Manson stole this from the Beatles, but we're taking it back.
Yeah.
Come on, Bono.
You know, the one thing I think U2 have never been any good at is covers.
Agreed.
I agree. Yes. Because Helter Skelter is absolutely horrible.
In fact, I remember reading once either Bono or The Edge saying that the reason U2 wrote their own songs in the first place was because they were crap at doing covers.
And then they are doing covers. Of course, I think Rattle and Hum's just I don't know. It's kind of like the Beach Boys party before they got to Pet Sounds. It's kind of the way I look at it. You know? I don't know. What do I know? I don't know anything.
It's a strange record. There's bits of it that are really good, and there's bits of it that are cringeworthy. Yeah.
Well, there you go, people. You've just got a They Might Be Giant show and a U2 show. This is an addendum to Ryan's show.
Yeah.
That's how we do it over here. But now I don't even know what we were talking about. Oh, you were talking about Ryan. Todd. What were you were saying something?
Yeah, I was that was my plug.
Okay. And it went on a tangent.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm going to probably plug stuff later. I don't really have anything. I'll plug it at the beginning. So anyway, we can wrap this dog up. I want to thank Bicyclelegs. As always, a great discussion, even though I was a little shaky on this one. And Todd Evans, nice seeing you again.
Thanks for having me.
As always, it's been fun. Please subscribe to Bicyclelegs channel. The link will be down below. Please subscribe to my channel. I don't ever say that, but I'll say it today for the hell of it. And I'm sure we'll come up with something else to do. That's how we do it over here. All right, I take care, gentlemen, and I appreciate it.
Good night.
All right,
thanks again.
Thanks for having me.
Good night.